Get your wife off the water or I'm calling the cops." The sound cracked across the lake, hard and ugly, like somebody slapping a dinner bell at midnight. I remember just standing there on the dock, 2 bottles of lemonade in my hands, watching Karen. You know, every neighborhood's got one, but ours came with a side of drama, stomping across the grass, her phone held high, her flip-flops snapping like gunshots. My wife Melanie was just out there on her old blue kayak, sunglasses on, slow as sunrise, probably thinking about nothing more than finishing that Miles Davis playlist. But Karen was red as a boiled crawfish, finger pointed, voice all tremble and thunder. She screamed, "You people think you own the world. I'm sick of it. I'm calling the police right now." Lemonades hit the ground. I tried, "Wait, please," but of course, it was already done. Now, what Karen didn't know, what most of this brand new, shiny HOA didn't realize, was that my wife, the woman who waved at every neighbor and picked up trash at the end of our private lane, wasn't just Melanie Brooks, former city cop, lover of fishing and peace and quiet. She was the new police chief for our whole damn county. And Karen? Well, Karen was about to get a front row ticket to the kind of show you don't forget. Let me back up a sec so you see how we landed in the circus. Me and Mel, we'd finally gotten our dream. A 20-acre slice of Colorado heaven. Wild grass, a sparkling lake, a couple horses named Charlie and Biscuit, and a barn that had seen more sunrises than I had birthdays. We were outside of town, away from all that city noise. Melanie had retired after 22 years as a cop, and I ran my welding business out of an old garage. The land wasn't even in any HOA, but right before we bought it, this new lakeside development sprung up, and suddenly they were trying to rope every rancher around into their little club. We politely said no thanks, but Karen, the self-appointed queen, binoculars on the windowsill, HOA enforcer sticker on her white SUV, she never got the message. If you've never had a Karen for a neighbor, count your blessings. Ours would drive past slow, taking pictures if our barn door was open. She once told me our roof was too shiny and threatened to fine us for the color of our gate, like it was her God-given mission to keep the world matching her paint samples. Mel always said, if someone needs that much control, it means they got no peace inside. But even she couldn't see the storm coming. First time Karen made a fuss, we were grilling with friends by the lake. She called the fire department, claimed we were burning trash. All they found was ribs and laughter. Next, she filed a county complaint when my nephew's RV stayed the weekend. Then, one morning, she's out there with her phone, taking pictures of Melanie doing yoga, muttering about collecting evidence. Through it all, Mel kept her cool, just smiled, let it roll off. But you can only poke the bear so many times. That morning, the sun just coming up, Melanie took the kayak out, a little jazz on the radio, just floating. Karen was apparently watching since dawn, convinced our lake, deeded to this ranch since 1960, belonged to her HOA. She charged down, voice like a siren, ready to summon the law. What she didn't know was the law was married to me and sitting on a kayak. When the county SUV rumbled up, Karen's smile looked like Christmas. She rushed up, demanding an arrest. But the deputy barely glanced at her. He was looking at Melanie, who was paddling to shore, calm as Sunday. Karen puffed up, started barking about trespassing, noise, lake ordinances. The deputy said, "Ma'am, this isn't HOA property. It's private land. Always has been." That's when Melanie stepped up, badge shining, and asked, "Ma'am, is there a problem here?" Karen nearly swallowed her tongue, fumbled her phone, went white as sheetrock. Then, in a twist no one saw coming, she dropped her phone, screamed down on the gravel, and muttered, "I didn't know." Melanie didn't gloat, just handed Karen a copy of our deed, smiled that cool, glassy smile, and let the deputy escort her back to the road. I thought, maybe, just maybe, that'd be the end. But when you bruise an ego that big, it doesn't go quietly. Next day, we found a duct-taped warning on our gate about lake activity restrictions. Mel didn't laugh. She called the property records office, set up a meeting with the county, and quietly, with the developer of the HOA land. While we waited for the official word, Karen cranked it up. That night, I caught her and some shadowy friends snapping pictures of our house. She hissed, "You don't know who you're messing with." Melanie just stood beside me, cool as a creek. When Karen finally backed off, Mel turned and whispered, "She wants a war. I want peace. But I'll finish what she starts." The next morning, Mel filed her first formal complaint: harassment, trespassing, nighttime surveillance. She sent copies to the sheriff, mayor, and the developer. Turns out, Karen's HOA had no legal claim over any ranches, and when the developer sent a cease and desist, Karen got a lawyer and tried to flip the script, filing a complaint against us for emotional distress. That made us laugh, but Melanie took it serious, sent everything to the district attorney, and got the ball rolling for a real investigation. And just when I thought things couldn't get hotter, they did, literally. Someone torched the edge of our fence, HOA flyers burning beneath the boards. Sheriff came, wrote it up as arson, and Mel just clenched her jaw. That night, she started a binder: photos, dates, complaints, threats, every rotten thing Karen had done. Because in small towns, you don't win with noise. You win with receipts. Right before Melanie was scheduled to present to the town council, someone filed an anonymous internal affairs complaint against her, claiming she used her badge to intimidate the community. We knew who. Karen. Internal affairs came, went through every file, every photo, every scrap of evidence Melanie had. Even they said, "Your wife's got more paperwork than the DA." The wheels turned slow, but we waited. Karen wasn't done. She held a public HOA meeting, called us out by name, told neighbors Mel had threatened her, even flashed some blurry photo. Our old neighbor Hank called me after, voice shaking. "She's accusing you of everything but the weather." That was the last straw. Melanie called the mayor, laid it all out: the flyers, the fire, the fake complaints. He said, "Bring it all to the council." At the meeting, Melanie didn't rant. She just told the story, laid out the evidence, let the facts speak. She didn't even say Karen's name, but the whole room stared at her. When she played the audio of Karen's late-night threat and showed the sheriff's fire report, the silence was heavy. The mayor asked, "Why hasn't this woman been stopped?" Karen, front row in her red dress, just stared. Her phone buzzed, her face fell, and she sat down like the air had gone out of her. We thought it was over. Then came the second fire. This time, the deputies caught Karen's niece in the act. Hoodie up, lighter fluid, HOA flyers. She broke down, admitted Karen told her to do it, just to scare them. That was all Mel needed. She sent the report to Internal Affairs and the DA. The law started closing in. Karen panicked, held a press conference on her porch about defending traditional values. Even as her niece confessed, Karen spun the story, victim to the end. But Melanie got a message: complaint dismissed, investigation closed, commendation for professionalism and restraint. The mayor texted, "Class wins." But Karen still tried to flip the narrative, filing a counterclaim accusing us of causing her niece's breakdown. Enough was enough. Melanie called an old friend, Cheryl, a retired federal prosecutor, now our neighbor. Cheryl filed a civil suit: defamation, harassment, incitement, the whole 9 yards. Suddenly, neighbors came out of the woodwork: a widow, a veteran, a single mom, all with stories of Karen's bullying. The local paper ran a headline: HOA tyrant faces backlash after ranch fire scandal. Karen lost her last supporters. Her niece filed her own complaint. The sheriff showed up with a warrant for Karen. The DA signed off on arson, conspiracy, harassment, trespassed out on arrest day. Melanie wore her badge, walked up to that perfect little house, and read Karen her rights. Karen trembled, protested, but the law, real law, closed in. Hank, mug in hand, watched from across the street, tipping his hat. Guess the HOA's having a board meeting in jail today. 3 weeks later, the HOA dissolved. People started living again. Melanie turned down a medal, said, "I did it so people remember peace is earned." But the world doesn't stop. One Sunday, a man in a suit showed up, file in hand, needing help with his own HOA nightmare in Willow Pines. Melanie just looked at the lake, said, "Some of us fight with truth." She took the case, and with Cheryl, exposed a second corrupt HOA president, got him arrested. 2. The town started changing. Melanie became the one people called, not for revenge, but for rescue. As for Karen, probation, fines, banned from any HOA job for life, moved away. Her niece wrote us a letter: "Thank you for making me tell the truth. I want to help people someday, like you." And out by our gate, Hank carved a new sign: "Peace lives here," and she carries a badge. So what do you think? Is standing up for dignity worth the trouble? When is enough really enough, and would you fight back? or just move on? Let me know below. Because sometimes justice comes in boots and a badge, but more often, it starts with saying, that's enough.